So welcome, please, Anthony Thomson.
Thanks, Winifred. Thank you. Hello. Hello. I mentioned that for two reasons. One is to say hello, and two, just to remind you, it's the 25th anniversary this week of the launch of Hello magazine. How good does that make you feel? Pretty good, I hope, because I want to, in terms of managing your expectations, say, excuse me, my last couple of presentations haven't gone terribly well. I'm delighted that Maggie invited me back to speak to you all, but as I say, it hasn't gone great, so I just want you to be aware of that, because it's not going to be as good as Sophie's. I spoke at this event 2 years ago, and I immediately flew to Beijing to speak at a conference there. As I walked in this morning, I just got this horrible feeling because it was exactly the same setup as this. And I'd sent my slides through in advance, and they said to me, is it okay if we put a setup in Mandarin? I said, yeah, I'm from Newcastle, put anything you like. So I was late in arriving, my plane was late, and I literally walked into the venue like this, 5 to 9 in the morning, walked straight onto the stage, came up and hit the button, and the first slide came up on the right-hand screen in Mandarin, and the first slide came up on the left-hand screen in Mandarin. And I don't use notes, so I had no idea what actually I was meant to be talking about. I was all right where the slides had pictures, because it kind of reminded me vaguely what I was meant to talk about. But when it was words, of course, they're written the other way. I had no idea. So that didn't go terribly well. But it went better than and you couldn't make this up, the presentation I gave to the 35 inner Mongolian financial leaders, inner Mongolian financial leaders, 35 of them. 2 of them didn't speak one word of English. So I'm trying to talk to them through an interpreter. And Winifred mentioned MetroBank. Some of you might have seen it. Has anybody been into a MetroBank? Yeah, a few of you. So you will know we love dogs. We have dog bowls, we have dog biscuits, we welcome dogs. So I said to these 35 inner Mongolian financial leaders, in MetroBank, we love dogs. Just not the way you do in Mongolia. So what I want to do is, there's really only three things I want to talk about. I'm not a banker by background, I'll come on to that. Everybody talks about the need for customer centricity in banks. What this slide does is tells you 3 things, because it doesn't matter if you can't see the detail. The top right-hand thing tells you everybody hates banks. The second thing tells you that they don't trust banks. And this thing at the bottom says they will basically do anything they can to avoid going into a bank. So it was against this background that we decided to create MetroBank. And it opened in July 2010 with 1 location in Holborn. Today we've got 18 locations, about 700 people now working there, 170,000 accounts, putting on about 5,000 new accounts a week. And it's approaching about £1 billion balance sheet. And of the work we do to look at what our customers think of us, 9 out of 10 roughly say they are satisfied or very satisfied with the service. And about 8 out of 10 say they would recommend us to a friend. And that bit's really, really important, because as a new, relatively small business, we don't have a lot of money to spend on advertising or marketing. So customer advocacy is incredibly important. This, you probably can't make it out too well, this picture on the left, sent to me by a friend of mine called Chris Gentle, who was on holiday on the south coast with his kids, and it's an arcade game. And you might have seen, it's one of these things where you pick up a hammer and little things pop up and you bash them. Yeah? There used to be rats or mice or things like that. These are actually bankers. And you can't see it, but they've all got names. So Bob Diamond's on there. So Bob Diamond pops it. So it was against this background of everybody hating banks that for the first time in my life I decided to start a bank. My background is, as Winifred inferred, I guess I'm an entrepreneur by background and a marketer by preference. Marketing is what I like. I founded and built an agency which specialized in financial services, became biggest in Europe. I sold it to Publicis. I founded something called the Financial Services Forum, which is a membership organization for senior executives in financial services companies. And it's about helping them to understand that good marketing is good for the consumer. Because in financial services, and I know a few of you in the room are in financial services, generally speaking, it's considered a zero-sum game. That your organization only wins at the expense of the customer, which is absolute nonsense. It should be a win-win. What's good for the customer should be good for the organization. So that's what the Financial Services Forum is about. Back in 2007, I had this idea to start a bank, which we launched, as I say, in July, and I was founding chairman. I stepped down in December from the bank because I'm about to launch another financial services business, which I hope will continue the revolution that MetroBank started. And I'd hoped to be able to announce it today, but unfortunately I can't for legal reasons, so it's just ... at the moment. So I want to talk about three things. I only want to talk about three things. I want to talk about belief. This is about being customer-centric. I want to talk to you about belief. I want to talk to you about there's lots and lots of things you can do to become more customer-centric. But I think there's only one that matters. So I want to share that with you. And I think there are three rules. Again, there's loads and loads of rules you can follow, but there's three that have been very important to me, and I want to share them with you. And then finally, and forgive me because I know you've had the misfortune of hearing me speak before, but I want to talk about what I see as the role of profit. Who thinks that the role of a business is to make money? Yeah, probably about half of you. Who thinks it isn't about just making money? So I guess the rest of you have probably been in the wrong conference. Okay, so I'm going to come on to that one. I'll come on to that one in a moment. So, this is the first of the interactive bits. Who's this? Anybody like to hazard a guess? Sorry? No, good guess, but it isn't. But it does look a lot like him. Right sphere, as it were. We want to have a guess? A guy's called Eric Wennermeyer. And as you might gather from the picture, he's a mountain climber, a very successful mountain climber. Eric Wennermeyer is completely blind. And 8 years ago, he climbed Everest. Completely blind. First blind man to climb Everest. In the week, which is the anniversary of the first woman who climbed Everest 27 years ago, a Japanese lady. And I spoke on a platform with him, and he said something to me, this is a couple of years ago, which just, you know how something just sticks? You just go, how on earth have I never thought of that before? And what Eric Wennermeyer said was, have you heard the expression, seeing is believing? Yeah? You've all heard the expression, seeing is believing. What Eric says is that's wrong. He says what it should be is believing is seeing. Believing is seeing. Because if you really passionately believe in something, you will see the outcome of it. When we started MetroBank, January 2008, I had a partner in this venture. He was American. We'd made the decision in the Seashell Fish and Chip Shop in Lisson Grove on the 15th of December 2007. 1st of January, he went back to America. I was here. And I'm going to start a bank. And everybody says, you're completely crazy. Well, I mean, they've been saying that for a long time, but in the specific reference to the idea of starting a bank, so you're crazy. But I had a belief that we could do it. And in having this belief, I could see what it was going to look like. And what I would say to you is that the first of the three things I want to suggest is, do you really passionately believe in what you do? Because if you do, you will see what it's going to look like. And I would suggest if you don't, leave. Go and do something else. Find out what you are really passionate about, what you believe in, and do that. Because you can't build a customer-centric business. You can't create a great customer experience if you don't truly, passionately believe in what you're doing. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. So who's this? There's a clue in the picture. Anybody like to have a guess? Yep.
It's the guy who runs Noma?
Correct. Correct. It's called Peter Kreiner. Really nice, very, very nice guy. For those of you who don't know, Noma is, or was until last Thursday, the #1 restaurant in the world. 750 chefs from around the world all get to vote on what they think is the best restaurant. And for the last 3 years, it was Noma. So everybody thinks about Noma as a fantastic food experience. They don't. They think about it as a total customer experience. So what Peter says, they have 40 covers. They can seat 40 people in Noma. It's really interesting. All of the produce comes from Copenhagen, which is where the restaurant is, or north of Copenhagen. So I think they once used an orange by mistake. You know, everything's got to come from. So it's shaved bits of reindeer and moss. And it's very good. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's great, but if you like moss and shaved reindeer. They have 40 covers. 40 covers. They have 51 staff serving 40 people. The experience is not about the one or the two or the three chefs in the kitchen. There are 17 of them. And it's about the way those people deliver that experience. The person who cooks it brings the food to the table and explains to you what it is that you're eating, which sometimes is quite invaluable. They have an absolute belief that they are not just in the business of serving food. They are in the business of giving a great customer experience. They believe that passionately. They set up this tiny restaurant in Copenhagen. I mean, it's not even in the center of Copenhagen. And it has become was the world's #1 restaurant for 3 years. When they open up their bookings online, they do it 3 months in advance. They get 100,000 requests on the day that they open for those 3 months of bookings. So what do we believe? What did we believe when we started MetroBank? First thing is that customers care more about value than they do about price. Everybody in banking thinks that it's a price-driven market. We absolutely believe that value is what matters to customers. I mean, who thinks that price is the most important thing? Nobody, I don't. So it's very difficult to see you all. It was announced that I read today in the paper that Poundland. Any of you shop at Poundland? Yeah. I mean, statistically, more of you than the 6 honest people who put their hands up must shop at Poundland. Well, to the lady in the pink there who put your hand up, I have some good news for you. Poundland have announced today that they're reducing the price of a number of items to 97 pence. This is absolutely true because their competitors are selling things at 99 pence. Yeah, it's a nonsense. Price is not what drives all of us. Value is what drives us. And values means different things to different people. It's where you are in your life. You know, if you're buying your first car, you might buy a Skoda. If you're buying your second car, it might be a BMW. So value is what matters to people. And value, I would suggest to you, is an amalgam of different things for different people. So we don't all have the same definition of what value is. It means different things to each of us, I would suggest. In our belief, in creating a new bank, we thought it was all about service and convenience. That what people wanted was a great service from their bank. And what they wanted to do is to be able to bank when they wanted to bank. So again, as Winfred pointed out, we open from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, Monday to Friday, 8 till 6 on Saturday, and 11 till 5 on Sunday. And guess what? We have more customers coming in, and we open more accounts outside of normal banking hours, I sort of roughly 9 till 5, than we do during banking hours. And we open more accounts on Saturdays and Sundays than we do during normal banking hours, Monday to Friday. I think a lot of people, value is about transparency. It's about being able to see and understand the offer that's made to you. We've seen all the problems that the utility companies have had with their lack of transparency around pricing. We had the same thing with mobile phones. I mean, I have no idea how to work out what tariff I'm on. If any of you can explain it to me, I just don't understand it. It is not transparent. Consistency, I think, is really important to people. And one of the things I really, really hate is, as a customer of a business, where they make an offer to new customers that is better than the offer I have, and I can't take it up because I'm an existing customer. It makes me feel like a second-class citizen or a second-class customer. So value is, as I say, is an amalgam of many different things. It'll mean different things to you, but I would suggest that some of those will be important, and I guess you'll have some others as well. We believe that customers want and demand a better retail experience. That in every other area of their life, they are demanding and getting better service. You know, retailers now talk about themed experiences rather than just being clothes shops. And people want that greater experience. They're getting it everywhere else. They want it in financial services. They want it in banking. And they want it however they interact with you. So MetroBank, as you would have seen, is a lot around the physical locations. And they're very important to us because that's where people open accounts. It was great when Matt Dillon was asked why he robbed banks. He said, well, that's where the money is. And the reason we have bank branches, or stores as we call them, is because that's where people come to open accounts. And as a new bank, we're in the account opening business. So it's really critical we get new customers. So everybody thinks that we are sort of bricks and mortar centric. But I'm absolutely agnostic when it comes to channel. What I do believe is that the customer should decide the channel they want to interact with you. That you shouldn't be driving them down a particular channel because it's more cost efficient for you to do so. So in banking, it's much cheaper to service a customer by telephony. It's about 1/10 of the cost of serving them in a branch. And it's about 1/10 of the cost, again, to have them self-service online. So what we're seeing is banks are driving customers towards online. Well, my view is you as a customer should choose a channel you want to use when, where, and how suits you. I've just got to give you the best experience, however you want to touch us, whether it's by coming into a store on your way to work in the morning or on a Saturday or a Sunday, whether it's ringing our 24-hour contact center or whether it's going online. And I'm struggling a bit with how you create a differentiated experience online. The first two, where human beings are involved, I can see quite easily. The third one I'm struggling a little bit with. This is what's called a magic money machine. It's a coin counting machine. So you take your coins, and where Oscar's left paw is, that's Oscar, my PA at the Financial Services Forum's dog. Because my chocolate brown Labrador wasn't considered good enough looking for the Guardian, for the brown rice and sock and sandal wearing readers of the Guardian. So Oscar, this is Oscar. So anyway, I digress. I hate the Guardian. You pour your coins in here, and it counts them for you. It gives you a slip of paper. You can either have them put into your account, or we will give you them in notes. And machines are free to use, and you don't even have to be a customer to use them. So cab drivers love it, because of course they can come after 6 o'clock at night and park outside on the yellow line and come in and use the machines. If you take your coins into another bank, a normal high street bank, firstly, they won't accept them unless you've bagged them in exactly the right amount, so 101p's or 102p's or 50p's or whatever they take. They won't take them unless they're bagged in exactly the right amount. Then when they do take them, they charge you 9 to 11% for the privilege of taking your money from you. Charge you 9 to 11%. So these machines are free to use. They cost about, all in about £20,000, because there's a little game you can see on the screen that Oscar's studying so carefully, where kids can play a game, and if they guess how much money they put in, they get a prize, and of course they pre-count it and then put it in. So they always win a prize. I'm digressing. Oh, just one more digression. Do you know the biggest, these are American machines, do you know the biggest cause of them breaking down? Is foreign objects, obviously, not money. Do you know the biggest foreign, not the biggest, the most frequent foreign object to cause these machines to break down? Bullets. Who keeps bullets in their spare change? We have yet to have this problem in London, although we've yet to open in Brixton. Oh yeah, so why did I start all of this? So £20,000, the machines, there's absolutely no payback on them. We get no money back, they cost £20,000, got 20 stores, there's £400,000 we've spent on these machines so far. No payback whatsoever. It's just an investment in the customer experience. Ask yourself, could you go to your finance director, your chief executive, those of you who are finance directors, chief executives, your board, and say, I've got a great idea for enhancing our customer experience. I want to spend £20,000 on something and put it into every retail outlet that we have or everywhere that we interact with customers. And there's no return on investment, nothing measurable on these things. But this is about the commitment we make to customer service, to the customer experience. And this is an interesting quote, I think. And it was written by a very successful German banker back in the 70s. And he says, retail banking considers the customer relationship as its only asset. The only thing that matters is the customer relationship. Quite frankly, you could outsource everything else. Banking is not complicated. It's primarily about the management of risk, credit risk and market risk and operational risk. But the real thing is about the customer relationship. And I think that is true of most businesses. That you could say, what is the most important facet of our business? What's the one thing that is irreplaceable? And I would suggest to you it is your relationship with your customer. Because everything else you could outsource, potentially outsource. So the one thing for us is about a belief that great businesses create fans, not customers. Now you might say, well, that's a rather odd thing to say in the banking sector where customers universally loathe and detest their banks. But that's our belief, and that's the one thing that we focus on, is how can we create fans, not customers? So I sat in on every meeting that we had in building the bank with our IT department. I'm not an IT person by background. But I said to my colleagues, why are we doing this? Every decision we made. Are we doing it because it's operationally more efficient or because it's going to create a better customer experience? And if the answer is not the latter, I want you to think again about why we're doing what it is that we're doing. So it's in every aspect of what we do is saying, what does the customer want? How can we create fans? And we have three rules by which we do it. So the first is about creating a differentiated model. So all of the other banks on the high street are about rate, about price. We're about service. We think that is a point of differentiation, a point of sustainable differentiation. And it drives everything that we do. Customer service, customer experience drives everything that we do. It's then about creating a culture which reinforces that model. So again, to use a banking experience, you walk into any high street bank, they all claim to be customer-centric, but the person you meet, the greeter or the person behind the counter, the teller, or the person sitting at the desk, has a sales target. And about a third of their income comes from selling things. They have sales targets. They are measured on them, usually on a monthly basis. And I think, how can you claim to be customer-centric when you reward your people for selling something to customers? I think that's dissonant of the model. In MetroBank, everybody you meet, if you walk in, and I hope you will, from the greeter to the teller to the person behind the desk, has one target, or two actually. But the main target is around customer satisfaction levels. They have no sales targets. They are rewarded, they're bonused on customer satisfaction scores in their store. And the other thing we have to do is around compliance, because of the nature of banking. Compliance is very important. But the biggest focus is absolutely on the culture. And then the third thing we do is we just do it all day, every day. We are relentless in looking at how we can make what we do better. You'll see people, members, my colleagues, will be out cleaning a window because there's a mark on the window. Or they'll be up a ladder changing a bulb. You know, they don't wait for premises to come around and change bulbs. They want every single thing to be done. Because I used to think that differentiation was about you're doing one thing massively differently. But it's not. It's about doing 100 things or 1,000 things just that little bit better. And I was just looking in the program, and I noticed something just on this relentless execution bit, which really tickled me. Is there someone called Joanne Startin here? Joanne? Yeah? Hi. So Joanne, you might have picked up from the program, has this brilliant title. Joanne is the perfect delivery manager. And I'm going to steal that. Now, isn't that fantastic? Perfect delivery manager. So for execution, for delivery to customers, I think we need perfect delivery managers. So perhaps we can have a chat afterwards. Oh, I don't know whether you're looking to move, but we're going to have a chat anyway. So we talk about creating fans, not customers. This is a feedback form. We get feedback forms from our customers. And occasionally we get not very good feedback forms. And clearly I wasn't going to put one of those up. This was filled in, and I don't know how well you can see from back there. Everything that's in red was written by the customer. So he talks about the guy who served him, Keith. He says, Keith exceeds expectations. Where we've asked, how would you rate the service you received at MetroBank? You were excellent. Yes! Exclamation mark. How can we improve our service to you? You can't. Please tell us how we're doing. I'm a fan. And then finally, remember I said customer advocacy is very important to us. Based on your overall experience, will you recommend MetroBank to your family or friends? Definitely, exclamation mark, underscored 3 times. Now, I would suggest to you that that person is a fan of MetroBank. Yeah, not everybody is. We have yet to make everybody a fan. We get things wrong. But you can actually do it, is the point that I'm kind of labouring, I guess. Now, you could say, well, AT, it's all very well and good for you to talk about these 3 rules. Maybe they work for you. Will they work for us? Do they matter? There's a book which has just come out, funny enough, called 3 Rules. And it's by 2 Harvard academics, Michael Raymore and Mumtaz Ahmed. And they said there are only 3 rules which matter in business. And the first, they say, is better before cheaper. You can't cost-cut your way to growth. You know, cost-cutting is not a business strategy. It's just part of everyday life. What you have to do is just continually improve the experience or the product or the service that you deliver to their customer. And this is based, I can't remember whether I put it on one of these slides, on 25,000 interviews they did looking over 20 years at businesses. Yeah, 25,000 over 4 decades. The second thing they say is focus on driving revenues before you focus on cutting costs. That's what generates profits in a business. Invest in your business. You know, this is their equivalent of putting the coin counting machines in. So bear in mind that these are two Harvard academics who wrote this book called 3 Rules. They then say there's no third rule. They're the only 2 things that matter. I have to say, I did feel slightly shortchanged in buying this book. But I suppose the point they're making is that there are only 2 things that matter. I think 3. I didn't go to university. Who am I to argue with those Harvard academics? All I did was build a bank. Which leads me neatly onto my last point, which is about role of profit. This is something I'm really quite passionate about. I think the big problem in UK PLC today in general, and the problem with banks in particular, is that they have forgotten that profit is a byproduct of doing something well for the customer. They just think that they are in business to make money. And I'm fortunate to know a number of very successful entrepreneurs, some people who've made lots and lots of money. Excuse me. And they all went into it because they were passionate about a belief in creating a better product or a better service or a better experience for their customers. The profit is what comes as a result of doing that. It's not why you're in business. I would respectfully suggest to you, if that's why you think you're in business, maybe you need to be in a different business. You really need to be passionate about what you do. You need to have an absolute belief in what it is that you're doing so that you will be able to see it. You know, I've got 3 rules about a differentiated model, a culture that supports a model, and a relentless execution in its delivery. The academics would describe it slightly differently. But whatever it is for you, it should only be 1 or 2 things that you really focus your efforts on. And again, I think Sophie made that point very eloquently in her presentation. And then finally, I would say to you again respectfully, just remember why it is that you're in business, which I would say is to create a better customer experience. Thank you very much.